Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for all the support for the channel. Let's get that out of the way. I make it sound as though it's like an obligation and I have to do it. I don't have to do it. I want to do it or I wouldn't. There's very few things come into the Roger has to do category. But there is a long list of those. I'll go into those in a minute. But again, as always on Sunday, thanks for any support you can give this channel and the other two, especially the gardening channel, because it's coming on. We're up to 360 odd subscribers now out of 500 that I need. That's probably going to be achieved relatively easily, but if you're one of those that's thought about popping across to the gardening channel and subscribing to help with that number and you haven't done it yet, I'll find you. Only joking. It would be appreciated to help with that. The watch hours have now gone over 500, so we have a sixth of what we need, the 3,000 that I actually need. So they're creeping up. If you think the channel hasn't been going a month yet, I think it went live on the 6th of August. So, you know, we've still got another week before we get up to a month. But even so, if I can get 500 watch hours each month, then we should reach the 3,000, you know, in a reasonable time scale. I hope that the channel, as it grows, those watch hours, the rate will increase. So, but that remains to be seen. But any help, greatly appreciated. As for this channel, this one ticks along. You know, subscribers gradually creep up. I try different types of videos now and again. Some work, some don't. The thing is, when you try and determine whether a video works or not, all I can go by is the number of views and the comments. But because there aren't many comments on a video doesn't mean to say it wasn't liked. I mean, some people watch a video and think it's absolutely great, but they can't necessarily think of anything to leave in the comment apart from a nice video, which is a bit bland, but if that's all you can do, then do it. You know, any support for the channel is greatly appreciated. That includes the comments and obviously watching the videos. And that's all I can judge by is the number of views, but that can be clouded by other issues. It's the holiday season at the moment, yeah? Well, in half the world it is. The other half of the world all sat around in their scarves and coats. But you know what I mean. Things like that, it's school holidays, that can have an effect on what people watch or don't watch, as the case may be. So, you can only make judgments on the information you've got. Here's a you know, they say there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. The worst of the lot. You can twist them to, you know, to represent what you want without actually telling a lie, but you're not telling all of the truth. There's a classic one, McDonald's in this country. 100% British beef. That doesn't mean they're made from 100% beef. It means the beef that's in it is 100% British. There might only be 1% of beef in their burgers, but it's good British beef. You see what I'm getting at? You can play. Here's one I thought of. This is convoluted, and this is just me making it up. Don't, you know, this isn't real. This is me making it up. The spread that I have on for my toast is naturally reduces cholesterol. Scientifically proven sort of thing. Yeah? Yeah? Well, what about this then? As a statistic, naturally reduces cholesterol. So if you took an average person's usage, let's say for a week, of full fat butter, and the amount of cholesterol that could possibly generate, yeah, and then remove that butter and replace it by this plant-based spread, you've naturally reduced cholesterol. No, you haven't. You've just stopped it. You know, you see what I'm getting at? By stopping one product and using another one instead. That's done the job, not the product itself. Anyway, enough of messing about with things. I like playing with words, messing about like that. Talking of messing about with words, this is nothing to do with orchids, I'm just waffling, but it's a little story. Now, people in the UK will be fine with this. From other countries, perhaps not so much, because you may not get the whole point. In our country, we have lots of different accents. Oh, it's because I'm treading on the mat. It's a strange sound. We have lots of different accents. And one of those accents is Cockney, which is East London, basically. Originally, you're born within the sound of Bow Bells. That's technically what it's supposed to mean. But then you get Cockney rhyming slang, which I've played with sometimes on the channel. This was like a sub-language invented mainly by the criminal fraternity and people up to no good, you know what I mean? So that they could have conversations in public and the undercover police wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about. That's its origins, sort of like that. And its basis is you take a word and then you find an expression where the last word of the expression rhymes with your original word. And then you only say half of the expression or a part of the expression. So you miss off the bit that actually rhymes with the word you're getting at. So a classic one is like rub-a-dub-dub, pub, yeah? And then you just say, we're going up the rub. So you miss the tail end of the expression where the rhyming word comes in. You see what I mean? It's that sort of thing. Apples and pears. Stairs. So you're going up the apples. Yeah, that's how it works. So see if you can do it. See if you can actually work out the words to this little story. The story is not mine. It comes from Ronnie Barker, one of his things. But there's a very kindly gentleman walking up the Frog. He's on his way to the rub to spend his lady that his trouble gave him. Now, this time he's only got one lady. Normally he's got quite a few, so he's definitely not going to get elephants like he usually does because he's only got one lady to spend. Clue. So anyway, he's walking along the Frog and he sees a Richard III on the ground and he thinks to himself, oh, I'm glad I didn't step on that. But he's a kindly gentleman, so he's always thinking of others. So he thinks to himself, if I leave that there, somebody else could tread on the Richard. Yeah, so perhaps I'd better... So he, thinking of others, picks it up and puts it on the wall. So he's now saved everybody else from stepping on the Richard III. And just as he's turning to walk away, the Richard flies up into the nearest tree. That's not what you thought, was it? That's Cockney rhyming slang. I love it. And I use it now and again in everyday conversations. Not all the time, but you know, I'm not from London. Right, now back to stuff. Workload. I'm at that stage now where it's starting to get to me. This happens now and again when the list of things to do is quite large, but somebody's just whacked a time scale on it. So now the list is starting to get a bit, am I going to get it finished sort of thing. And that time scale is my house inspection, which will be early September. I think the 1st of September is end of this week. Well, she won't be coming then. And if she attempts to, I shall put her off till the following week. And Hannah's down at the weekend to help with this list of chores. Now the problem we've got with the list of chores, some are inside, some are not obvious to yourselves because they're to do with the house, and some are outside. The outside ones are subject to weather, because I'm not working outside in the rain, especially with electric tools. So outside we have a huge pile of bamboo, which you saw on the end of the video, if you stayed to the end of the video. I've got to put the hedge trimmer around the rest of that bamboo clump, and then all of that bamboo that's cut down has to be cleared up. I can't leave that there, that makes the garden look in a right mess. Even though it's a job that's in progress, I could get away with that. I'd like it tidy. I don't want any comeback on that garden. It's the only thing I've ever been pulled up on, so it should look good this time. It should look really good this time compared with last time, which was March. You know, I hadn't done all the planting and everything. So big job, sort the bamboo out and get it cleared away. Now, if the bags of the stuff cleared away are still in the carport and not taken up the tip, that doesn't matter. She doesn't go in there, and if I put the car in the way, she can't get in there anyway. So she usually comes in the front door and comes around the house. So I don't really need to worry about that. Spilled me coffee. Criminal. Yes, so also outdoors, other job. Putting the strimmer round the rest of the cracks on the patio and sweeping it all up. Plus I need to do, there's a little bit of ivy I still need to do on the edge of that path. Strim that and sweep it all up. Again, it's the clearing up that does me in, because it's bending and all picking up and that sort of stuff. So hopefully by this weekend when Hannah comes down, I'll have sorted the bamboo out. With any luck, I might have at least done the strimming on the patio, and possibly sweep it up, but possibly not pick it up. There's that to do. Another job I'd like to do is some more of the mulch, because that's made part of the garden look really good and stop the weeds growing. Well, I only got part way along and then sort of ground to a halt on that. So, but that's not an essential. That doesn't have to be done. It would be nice, but not has to be done. This place has to be done. That cannot remain outstanding. So that's a matter of wiping off all the plastic. The mould that's growing on it comes off at a touch. There's no scrubbing or any mucking about like that. So there's that to do. Yeah, I've just seen a cobweb. I've just seen 2 cobwebs. Need to sort that out as well. There'll be the daddy long legs things, not those horrible false widows that we had the problem with once and got the smoke bomb to get rid of them. It did, but you know, could have damaged some of the orchids as well. So we've got that to do. And what I want to do as well, which is an outside job, is take the shade netting off and clean the roof. Now to clean the roof, I've got a long handled brush, yeah? And I've got steps that I can stand on, a couple of steps, so that I can reach what will be the centre from down there, if you see what I mean. And I've got a hose pipe now that I didn't have last time I tried to do the roof. So we can get the hose pipe up there and the brush, give it a bit of a scrub, wash all this moss down, clean the gutter out, and put the hose on the outside of the glass, give it a scrub over, wash it off again, yeah? So that the outside looks good too. And then this place can have no queries. Now the consequences of this place take us into a job on the inside of the house. Because of this door being open quite a lot of the time, it's open now, obviously it's quite humid out here. That humidity gets into the house. This house doesn't work properly, yeah? So there's mould starting to show on the inside of the house. Specifically the downstairs toilet. There's no ventilation and no windows there and no form of heating, and there's water in there, obviously, it's a toilet. So all round the skirting board and the lower sections of walls is starting to get black mould, yeah? It just wipes off with a cloth with a little bit of Fisan 20, which we did a year ago, and it's only recently come back with a vengeance, the same as out here. So it looks like the Fisan 20's worn off. But there's other places in the house where that black mould's creeping, like just inside this door here where I keep all my water. Now okay, they're sealed containers, but that's the closest to here. There's also some over there and a little bit in that corner. So that's a wipe off with a cloth. So there is some things to do on the inside of the house, but not too much. The big things are just that bamboo and sorting this place out, inside and out. So. But it's quite a big list with, you know, only a week to go. But I do have help for 2 of the days. Well, 1.5 of the days. By the time I picked Hannah up and we get back down here, it's Saturday lunchtime. So we have half a day there. And if we can manage, possibly Saturday evening, after we've had some tea, we need to get this lot sorted out. It's getting ridiculous. And it just keeps getting missed. You know, Hannah says, oh, you must do your hair this weekend, and then other things come up, or we do other things, and it keeps getting missed. So it needs doing. Otherwise we'll have to get the hedge trimmer on this. So quite a list of jobs to do. And then in amongst there I've got videos to create and process and load. So yeah, it's a busy week coming up. And it was mentioned, not any pressure, but the fact that it was mentioned, I volunteered to do the Orchid Society magazine when the last guy stepped down, having done it for donkey's years and didn't want to do it anymore. And if I hadn't volunteered, nobody else would. And I thought, well, I've got the IT skills and the software to do a magazine, I just as well take that on. And since then I've done nothing. I've collected some articles to make a magazine, but I've done nothing. So I haven't even created a skeleton magazine for this Orchid Society yet. I've done nothing. And it was mentioned in dispatches that we hadn't had a magazine for a long time. So it's been noticed. I'd imagine a load of people haven't given it a thought. And at the next meeting I will bring it up on the grounds that do we actually have to have a magazine? Can we not just have a more regular newsletter? Yeah? Instead of a full-blown magazine. I don't know. These are thoughts. One way or the other, I really don't want to do the magazine, but if I don't do it, I don't think anybody else will, therefore we will lose our magazine. So I got stuck like this at the Bournemouth one before, you know, I left there now, nothing to do with that, but you know, I volunteered to do the magazine when somebody else stepped down, and then when COVID came along I volunteered to do all the sort out all the photos and the judging, because we had virtual competition tables where people sent their photos to me and then I sent them off to the judges and got the points back and everything, and then presented that as a sort of online magazine. So, you know, it's all work. So we shall see. I really would like to pass that magazine to somebody else. I've been, you know, okay, it was for another society, but I've also been doing a magazine over a very long period of time in one shape or another. So we shall see. We shall see. And in amongst all that, I've still got to look after my orchids. Work on orchids. The video, the Orchid Progress Updates videos seem to be quite popular. This is good because that means that I can use something along those lines as the basis for next year's project Orchids. Not in its exact form, but somewhere around there is the right way forward. I'll get that sorted. It doesn't need to be sorted till next year, that's not a now thing. But it just struck a chord that several of the plants we've looked at in those Orchid project updates have been things that have come off of a mount that were failing quite miserably that are now picking up. Well, out of the corner of my eye I can see another 3 straight away that need doing now. Well, they're going to fail. One is, one could be, and one has failed but has got a tiny little new growth, so it might be recovering. These need sorting out, these mounts. Mounts do not work in this environment. They really don't work like they used to in the old place. So slowly but surely I will probably get rid of them. And there'll be very little left on a mount. Get them over into pots. Yeah. It's the lower temperature. It's got to be. I mean, I've got light. It could be the change over to using our native live moss. Perhaps the orchid's roots just don't like that environment. That could be part of it. But whatever it is, there's quite a few mounts that have not done well since I moved here. And as a consequence, I lost quite a few orchids because they went quicker than I could deal with them. So workload. So this week's orchid videos will involve doing some more mounts, taking things off of mounts and either remounting them with a change of moss to bring them over to the New Zealand sphagnum moss, which seems to work better, or just taking them off mounts and putting them in pots and then see if they recover that way. We shall see. Other videos this week, we got our Project Orchids video on Friday, obviously. Now next weekend Hannah's down, so there may well not be a Sunday chat. We'll have work to do, but I can't spend the amount of time it would take to film it, process it, load it. That's too much out of the day. Plus it's part of the day where Hannah's like on a limb. What am I supposed to do then? So probably won't be one. I can probably get something recorded early to post on Saturday. We can probably get that done. But yeah, when Hannah comes down, we do get a bit of a gap in the videos. So there we go. Orchids to look at. There's not a lot going on that you haven't seen. We've got this, let's put that down a minute. This Oncidium, this is Oncidium honeybee. It's a dancing lady type, and what I thought were going to be some little branches are turning out to be quite reasonable branches now. You know, I mean, this branch here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's got 4 or 5 buds on. This little one down here has got at least 3, and these 2 are starting to extend and spread, so that you can see the gap between the buds. The buds on the main stem higher up are starting to show patterning, starting to show the spots. So basically this is a dancing lady type, yellow with reddish, yeah, burgundy type reddish markings from memory. Can't remember really, but we'll see it soon. You know, it's progressing quite well. So there's that. There's nothing much else going on over here. You'd think the difference is several, I think 5 orchids, Oncidium types, this week when watering had spikes cut off because the plants weren't strong enough to support creating a spike and getting those blooms out. Much better to put the energy into more roots and perhaps a new growth. So, you know, that's blooms we're not going to see because I cut the spikes off. That's how it goes with weaker plants. So that's that. Oh, this Victoria Regina has probably got more blooms on at the moment than it's ever had. Like at the same time, I mean. It's got, there's 3 big clusters at the top of that cane. Yeah, so you know. That top of that cane's looking good. Top of this cane's got 2 clusters, and then this cane over here has got 1 cluster. Plus we've got 2 clusters that have just finished, and at the top here we've got more coming here. Well, that's the best it's ever been, quite honestly. And down the bottom, where's that wire? We do have a new growth coming as well. So we have a new cane. So. Yeah, that's doing well. It's doing better than I think it ever has, which is good. You know, that's one thing that's working. In amongst failures, it's good to have a bit of good stuff now and again. I keep mentioning failures, it's because they niggle at you. There aren't that many really. Out of what's left, there's not much that I know is failing and is probably not going to make it. There's a Miltoniopsis over there that's looking pretty sorry for itself. Everything else over there is coming on okay. Paphiopedal and Blackjack's coming on okay. That shelf there, everything's growing okay. The Kaneko that was failing and I thought was lost has pushed out loads of new growths. Hibicki's got blooms on and new growths pushing on. The Coelogenes are doing okay. And then over here, we've got a right mix over here. There's Brassias. The Nobly Dendrobiums are all over here. They're all doing fine. The Miltonias are over here as well. They're doing okay. Yeah, there's, you know, Cattleyas, not many left. Those that are left aren't doing bad. I won't say they're doing great, but they're not doing bad. The two that I'm most worried about is the Laelia anceps is not looking good, but it does have new growths just starting, so that's coming out of its clay pot soon. There's something not right with that plant. Is now in a better environment than it's ever had before, and it's not growing well. So it's got better light here than it had around the other place, because the other place had to have heavy shading in the growing season because of the sun and the heat. I haven't got that here, so it's got better light. It's also a cooler grower. Well, it's cooler here, so it's got the light and it's got the temperature, and it's not growing very well. So it's got to be something with the pot. The roots aren't happy. So we'll deal with that one. And the other one is the Laelia purpurata. That's looking a right sorry mess. But it does have a strong new growth pushing up. But you know, it's just, if you get one growth a year on a cattleya that, you know, runs across the top of the pot, that sort of, you know, and only produces one new growth, perhaps occasionally two, but mainly one, you know, to get rid of the previous three that are horrible manky leaves that make the plant look awful, it's 3 years growing seasons to get those old bulbs gone. You know, so things like that, never going to be a good plant. Might be just as well to put it in the bin, quite honestly. It's unsightly if nothing else. But Derek's plants are all coming on now. I think there's one or two exceptions that are struggling, but you know, they're not going downhill anymore. They're at least stable. So yeah, even my twinkles are starting to perk up a bit. So in the main, things are doing okay. You know. This one here, I'm letting it bloom when I shouldn't do, but it's a single plant and it has two new growths with nice, one's got a nice plump bulb and a spike with two buds. This is Miltonia Summer Glory. The plant's not that good looking. All the other bulbs have lost their leaves except for the latest two growths. This was almost lost, and strictly speaking I should take that spike off. But the fact that it's got a second new growth that's also producing roots, I let it go. It's a weak spike, it's only two buds. But that's what I mean about, you know, that would be classed as a plant that's not doing that well. Could be a lot better. And I know what it should be like, that's the difference. If you buy a plant in and it's the only one you've seen, you're not sure whether that's a good version of it or not, if you see what I mean. And that has been a lot better than that. Certainly a lot better than that when I got it. But some plants, I think, are still struggling from the transition from the old place to the new place. You know, they had a change of environment in the middle of winter that didn't do them much good. That probably set some back worse than others. Then they had a poor growing season last year, where I still hadn't got my head around this environment very well. And then went into a poor winter. And some of them didn't come out the other end. So, but most of what's here now is okay. It's okay. But, I keep thinking I'm looking at a spike, but it's a leaf that's sideways on that twists halfway up. So it looks like it's getting wider nearer the top, so thin, getting wider at the top. Normally implies a spike, doesn't it? But it's not. Not at all. Right. What else? Lights. Now, I am going to do the lights towards the end of the year. I've been looking at the site that I go on for start and end of day times, day length, yeah, and rate of change, and we've just dropped down below 14 hours in the last few days. How many days are there left in this month? Not many. And by the end of this month, we'll be down to 13 and a half. The rate of change is almost up to its maximum. And by the end of September, we'll be heading down towards getting below 12 hours, which is the point at which I want to introduce the lights. So the lights will be getting sorted towards the end of next month. Now obviously to maintain 12 hours, like for the first week, well, they're only going to be on half an hour, aren't they? And then the next week, well, they might be on for an hour, for a couple of weeks perhaps. It doesn't have to be exact. But yeah. And the plan is to have one shelf over here, that's the biggest shelf I've got, and it's the one that's farthest away from the roof. The reason being, I want to put that big square light that I showed you in last Sunday's video, hanging from the roof above that shelf. And then everything on that shelf will be things that I think need their season extended. They need their growing thing extended. So that'll be things like the dendrobiums that have started growing halfway through the year. Well, let's keep them going as long as we can. And then the other light I plan on putting on, probably on one of the racks that the mounts are on. But that will depend purely on how many things are left on mounts by the end of next month. There might not be much left. And they could always go flat on the shelf. They don't have to be hanging. You see what I mean? They could go flat. So those that I want to leave on the mounts could just go flat, so that they can take advantage of the lights. And to get them up to the right height, they can sit on top of a pot, upside down pot. So we might get away with one, we might need two. We shall see how it goes. There's another large area in that corner that's quite a long way from the roof as well. Could have another light over there, but then I'd have to, what am I going to put on it? You know, it depends, you know, because quite a lot of the stuff that's on this shelf will come off because it doesn't need its season extended. Things like the brassicas, they'll be fine. Some other stuff on there, the zygos, doesn't matter where they go. It's mainly going to be the things like the noblies and the winter restas and things like that that need that season extended. And then come the spring, they need the temperature drop, which they'll get naturally here, won't they? Because they're heating, that's going to happen naturally. And obviously the lights will come back on then, so that they have their bright, dry winter rest for sort of January, February time, or halfway through January onwards, something like that. I'll worry about next year when next year comes. Let's get this year sorted. But I am going to get that big light down and run that. The difficulty being is, where do I plug it in? But I will sort that out. And then I'm going to have to work out the loading to make sure we're not overloading anything here. I wonder how the electrics have been done. No way of finding out. See, this downstairs could be a ring, yeah, which means I've taken a spur off by running an extension lead. That's like a spur. It could be no ring at all. It could be two spurs, one for that half, so everything that side of these double doors, and then another one for everything the other side. Upstairs would be separate, but there's no way of finding out. That's the problem. I suppose I could have a look at the big fuse box. I think the fuses have got written on them what they're for. So if there's only one fuse for downstairs sockets, then it's more likely to be a ring. But that, you know, what it is affects what you can pull off of it without it starting to overheat. But as I said, the electrics, everything that's in here is fine. You know, the heater that I'm using now with the fan, the humidifier might need to come back on. That's shut down at the moment. I'm using the dehumidifier at the moment, and that runs at night. Yeah? Well, at night, the only thing that's on is that little circulating fan. That's nowhere near any form of loading. It's when the heater starts kicking in. But those LED lights, that big LED light, I think is only 40 watts. It's quite a low rating for the power it puts out, but it'll have it written on it somewhere. It'll say what it is, and then I can take that into account, you know. I mean, the fan is a bigger loading than that. Anyway, so that's sort of plans for later next month. So there's the infundibulum that's been in flower for so long, has recently gone over now, and the cane that's just finished flowering, it looks like it's got another bud, but it's actually where the flowers were. It's actually, you know, a dead stump. It's not a bud at all, but it's silhouetted, so it looked like another flower bud coming. I would be surprised if that cane flowered again, I must admit. Yes, so there we go. Yeah, workload, getting a bit much, but it's like I've always said, do a bit each day until the point where that day you've had enough. Now the big job is cleaning this and sorting the bamboo out. Everything else would be classed as small jobs, and most of those small jobs I'll have help with at the weekend. My only worry about leaving them till the weekend is if something goes wrong. And then Hannah looks up and said, "Oh, sorry Dad, I just can't come down this weekend." And then I'm on my own with what's been left for both of us to do. So yeah, I don't want to leave too much and then find out it all goes whatnots upwards, as they say. Anyway, I hope you have fun deciphering my little story. What you're trying to do is work out the rest of the expression that was abbreviated to get to the word, to then find out what it rhymes with. You see what I mean? Bit of fun. I just have to get the RO unit on sometime this week as well. I'm down to 3 containers, but then, you know, I haven't got to water everything in here until later on in the week, or later next week. By then I'll have run the RO unit. So we're having rain enough that I haven't got to go round the garden with the hose, and I like that, you know. So there's enough rain coming down to keep the garden watered, keep things growing, and not need to water the bonsai. It's keeping those moist enough as well. So there we go. The gardening channel videos, we are about. The next video to get posted will be, not today's is already up there. The next one is the only one that was filmed in June. Yeah? So there's only one to do, and we're into July. So you can see that the story is catching up with the real world, slowly but surely. I've got 3 videos for August. They were filmed obviously relatively recently. Yeah, we are in August after all, so those have just been put to one side until it's time for them to come out. So 1 in June, 3 in July. There's only 4 videos to go and we're into August. My worry is that once we get into September, it won't be much to film, will there? And I'll have run out of the ones from the Orchid channel, the ones I'm pulling across. So great fun. Anyway, the gardening channel seems to be working okay. I can't tell at the moment whether it's attracting people in that are nothing to do with this channel. There's no way to tell really. I suppose, you see, not everybody makes the fact that they're a subscriber to a channel public. So, you know, if I have a look at my list of subscribers for this channel, there isn't 14,500 of them. So lots of them don't publicise the fact that they're a subscriber. They're private, which is fine. Don't worry about that sort of thing. But, you know, I suppose if I compared the names on the gardening channel on that list and see if they're on this Orchid channel, yeah, like I'm going to bother with all that. But it's difficult to tell, because that's why I'm hoping that gardening channel will draw people in from the gardening fraternity, rather than the people that have helped out by going across from the orchid community. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, looking after orchids is a form of gardening, isn't it? It's all plants, you know. So, anyway, I won't ever be able to tell, I don't suppose. But, yeah, if you haven't done the business and gone across, the link to the gardening channel is in the description of all of the Orchid channel videos, so you can get there anyway, or you can just search YouTube for Roger's New Garden, and don't forget the apostrophe on the Rogers bit. There is only one. What do you mean one's more than enough? Damn cheek. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for today. No spotlight again today. I will try and bring that idea back, but obviously not next week, because we probably won't have a Sunday chat next week. That also means that we can't do the questions and answers with the answers being live as the Sunday chat. That won't be next week either. So there's some things on hold while Hannah comes down, helps me sort this lot out and gets this dratted inspection out of the way. At which point, sigh of relief, relax, and everything goes back to normal again. Glad it's only every 6 months and not every 3 when the rent's due. 6 months is more than enough. But, you know, you can see their point. The landlord has paid for a full agency service. That means keeping their eye on the place and making sure that the tenant's not messing the place up. So what happened with the last tenants I really don't know, because they did mess the place up and they did let the garden, you know, turn into a wild wilderness basically. And what I suspect happened was the agency realised that they didn't have the power. You can moan at a tenant for not doing stuff, you can even threaten them with eviction, but then you're going to have a period with no rent coming in. You've then got to find a new tenant. The new tenant might be worse than the one you had. All these things start coming to mind, you know. I would like to think I'm a good tenant. I look after the house, keep it clean and tidy. That happens naturally, whether they were coming to look at it or not. And you know I've done an awful lot of work in the garden to get it tidy for them, yes, and for me. It's not just for them. I want this garden to be a place where I can feel comfortable and calm. A place where I can go and sit in some afternoon sun with Mojo while he's still with us. And, you know, it's good stuff. It's nice to have a place outside in the fresh air that's quiet, peaceful, bit of colour, you know. So it is, you know, it's for me, it's not just for them. Getting it tidy initially is for them. I was instructed to do it, and you know, I had a black mark for the state it was in because I hadn't got on with it. Whereas now I have got on with it, I won't get the black mark, and I hopefully won't get any comments at all this time. We shall see. Time will tell. And talking of time, it's getting on. Must be nearly flipping lunchtime. It's 11:15. Forgot I was up silly early this morning. It feels like lunchtime because of when I got up. Mojo was fretting this morning, he just wouldn't settle down. I don't know what disturbed him, I'm sure. Sometimes it's nothing more than the moon. And because the south side of the house, which is where the moon would go across at night, there's no curtains drawn or anything there. Those windows, when the moon comes out, they're quite bright. And he might think it's starting to get light and it's breakfast time. It could have been just nothing more than that. I don't know. But anyway, he was fussing this morning, and in the end I just got up. It's easier in the long run. It shuts up then, as soon as I get up. You know, but he thinks, that got you, didn't it? But yeah, we were up at silly o'clock this morning, so it happens. You know, so. If I'm really tired today, I will fall asleep in the chair this evening, and the sleep will be made up. You know, so it's not the end of the world. And somebody my age doesn't need a lot of sleep anyway. Don't do much really. I'm on my feet a lot, walking about house and garden quite a bit, but that's it. I don't do much else, you know. So let's get this lot processed, because Sunday's my busy video day. I will also process the next gardening video, because I've got all of those. You know, all I've got to do is put the start and the end on and put a few words in and things like that. You know, they're already made, so they don't take long to do. But I always like to have one ready. so that I'm one ahead, one in advance. And as I said, the next one is June, and it's the only one. I think it's a main update, a main garden update, because it was when I decided we would have a main garden update at the beginning of each month. That got a bit sidetracked, but I think June was the month where it did actually happen, so I think that's what the next one will be. That probably won't get posted tomorrow, I'll probably leave it till Tuesday. Oh, and the other thing, the car, the electrics on the car, I can't get them to work. Phoned up my man and he said, to coin a phrase, mate, I am absolutely swamped at the moment. You're probably looking at a week and a half before I can even think about taking a look at it. But he gave me the name of somebody that he would recommend to do electrical work on cars. He's a specialist sort of thing. So I've booked that in for Wednesday, 9:15. So I'll be driving through the traffic to get there for 9:15. It's quite a long way away compared with the one I use now, which is just up the road basically. He's about the same distance away as the recycling centre, just literally up the road, less than 2 miles. Whereas this one is over towards Bournemouth, so I've got a bit of a drive to do. And then I thought, how the hell am I going to get home? That's going to be 3 buses from there. And I wasn't sure. So I said to him about getting home, and he said, the 1B stops at the end of the road here. I said, well, what does that go to Christchurch? He said, no, it goes to Burton, where you live. I said, well, there's only one bus in Burton. It does Burton and Christchurch and Somerford. It does like a circular route. He said, no, that one's been killed off. They stopped doing that one a while ago and replaced it with this one. You can now get on a bus in Burton and go to Bournemouth. 1 bus. Hey! So, unfortunately, it's touristy season. The first thing I thought of was, God, I can now get a bus. I could film Bournemouth Gardens as part of the gardening channel, a visit to some gardens. Unfortunately, this time of year it's crawling with tourists and people. And I don't want loads of people, you know, there can be hassles with having faces in your videos without permission and all that stuff. But yes, one of the gardens I would like to visit, that I want to visit anyway, it was down on the list, I just haven't got round to it. It's a Japanese garden that's not too far away, you know, probably be less than an hour's drive. It's not far away at all. It's in a suburb of, it's between Bournemouth and Poole. It's a Japanese garden. It's got the big ponds with the koi in. It's got the Japanese bridges and the summer house with the flicky up roofs and lots of maples and things. It's a smashing place. But I went there about 20 years ago. Might not even be there anymore, I don't know. You can always look it up, it'll have a website, won't it? But yeah, that's one of the gardens I thought about visiting. And the time to go there is autumn, when the maples turn and they've got their autumn colour. That would be quite special. Wisley Gardens I can get to in a day, and I've got a card that gets me in half price, which makes it a viable day out for me, because the price to get into the RHS Gardens is over 20 quid. You know, you add the fuel on and everything's quite an expensive day out, plus you're going to want to eat, you know. But I can get in there half price with this Orchid Society card that we get as our, we're affiliated, so we get a card. That would be a lovely place to go and film at the gardens, because it's such a huge place. You can film the gardens by just like waiting for somebody to finish walking past this bit, and then, yeah, so you can film the gardens quite well. That'd be a nice day out. But none of these days out are going to happen this week, are they? But they're in there. We'll do something. I'll make a pledge that we will visit at least one of these gardens this year, and preferably 2 if we can. So, things to look forward to. But they will of course be on the gardening channel. They won't be here on the Orchid channel anymore like they used to be. Yeah. So, but I will also say that if there is something a bit different or a bit special on the gardening channel, I will quite happily mention it on the Orchid channel, because I know that quite a few people are involved with both, but don't necessarily follow every gardening video, if you see what I mean, or every orchid video for that matter. Anyway, my stomach tells me it's lunchtime, even though it isn't. I'll have to have a yoghurt or something to tide me over. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Sunday chats vary a lot. They're very rarely planned. They might have an item or two in here that I need to make sure I mention, but that's how they are, unless enough people say otherwise and would prefer something a bit different. But as it stands, I've got no plans to change the Sunday chats. They are what's in the title. They are a chat about circling around orchids-ish. Not necessarily just orchids. Some of it is like what I'm up to, life, the universe and things, you know. 47, wasn't it? I've forgotten. 42. 49. I can't remember. Too long ago. And most of you don't know what the hell I'm talking about anyway. Right, so see you next time. Thanks for dropping by, and thanks for supporting the channel in whatever way you do. Whether it's the membership, the Patreon site, the Buy Me a Coffee thingy, which is always sitting there, you know, and watching the videos, being a subscriber and leaving comments. Those are all the options that support the channel, yeah? And any one or number of those helps out. So no matter how little or how much, it all helps out. As Tesco said, every little helps. Yeah, despite them practically doubling the prices in the last 3 years. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.